Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host, and I'm so happy you're here with us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia, your co-host. We're really excited about today's topic because it's something many English learners dream about, improving their English very fast.
Yes, absolutely. Today we're talking about how I learned English in 5 months. And when you hear that, you might be thinking, 5 months? Is that even possible?
Exactly. Most people believe that learning a language takes years, but the truth is, if you have the right approach, the right mindset, and strong daily habits, you can actually make huge progress in just a few months.
That's right. And in this episode, we're going to share a personal story, Julia's own journey of how she managed to learn English in only 5 months. We'll talk about the challenges she faced, the methods she used, and of course, some tips that you, our listeners, can try for yourselves.
So if you've ever felt like learning English is too hard or too slow, stay with us. This episode will inspire you and give you practical ideas to speed up your learning journey.
All right, let's get started. So, Julia, before we dive into the how, let's first talk about the why. What made you decide that you had to learn English in just 5 months?
Well, Jason, I had a very strong reason. At that time, I was preparing for a new job opportunity. The company required good English communication skills because most of the work was international. I knew that if I wanted the job, I had to be able to speak and understand English confidently.
So there was a real deadline. That must have been both exciting and stressful at the same time.
Yes, exactly. Having a deadline made me feel pressure, but also gave me motivation. I didn't have the luxury of saying, oh, I'll learn slowly over a few years. I had only months, so I had to focus and commit fully.
That's interesting, because a lot of people don't have a clear reason or goal when they start learning English. They just say, I want to improve, but they don't know why or by when.
That's true, and I think that's why many learners lose motivation. If you don't have a strong reason, it's easy to give up. For me, my reason was very clear. I needed English for my career and future. And that clear reason pushed me to practice every single day.
I like that. So your story shows that having a strong why is the first step. Without it, learning can feel like a hobby, but with it, learning becomes a mission.
Exactly. And for anyone listening right now, I think it's really important to stop and ask yourself, why do I want to learn English? Is it for your career, to study abroad, to travel, or maybe to connect with people around the world? Once you have your reason, you'll find more energy to keep going.
That's powerful advice, Julia. Okay, so you had your why and a 5 month deadline. Now I'm curious, where were you starting from? What was your English level before this journey began? So, Julia, you had your reason and your deadline. But let's be honest with our listeners. Where exactly were you starting from? What was your English level before you began this 5 month journey?
Honestly, Jason, I was at a very basic level. I could introduce myself, say simple sentences like my name is Julia or I like coffee, but I couldn't hold a real conversation. If someone spoke fast, I didn't understand much. And when I tried to reply, I usually got stuck or felt embarrassed.
That sounds very familiar. I think many of our listeners can relate to that. You know some words, maybe some grammar rules, but when it comes to speaking, everything feels frozen.
Yes, exactly. I had studied English at school, but I didn't really use it, so even though I knew some grammar, I couldn't actually communicate. I felt like a beginner again.
That's an important point. Sometimes learners think, I studied English for years, but I'm still not fluent. And it's because there's a big difference between studying English and using English.
Right. And that's why, before starting, I accepted the truth. Okay, I'm basically at a beginner level in real communication. Once I admitted that, I could build from there without feeling ashamed.
That's powerful. So step one for learners is to honestly check their starting point. Are you at beginner, intermediate, or advanced? And don't worry if you're at the beginning, because as Julia shows, even from a very basic level, you can improve quickly with the right plan.
Exactly. It doesn't matter where you start, it matters how you move forward.
I like that. So now that we know where you started from, let's talk about what you actually did. What did your daily routine look like during those 5 months? Okay, Julia, now we're getting to the part that everyone is curious about. What exactly did your daily routine look like? How did you study and practice English during those 5 months?
Well, Jason, I created a very simple but strict routine. Every day, I divided my learning into small parts so I could cover listening, speaking, reading, and writing. I didn't spend 10 hours a day, but I made sure I did something in English every single day.
That's interesting. So, how many hours did you study per day?
Usually between 3 to 4 hours in total, but not all at once. For example, in the morning I would listen to English podcasts or watch short videos for about 30 minutes. That helped me wake up my brain in English.
That's smart. Starting your day in English. It's like telling your brain, today, we're thinking in English.
Exactly. Then, in the afternoon, I spent about 1 hour on speaking practice. Sometimes I practiced with a language partner, sometimes I recorded myself speaking about a topic. Speaking every day was non-negotiable for me.
I like how you made speaking a daily habit. A lot of learners spend all their time reading and listening, but forget to use the language.
Yes, and honestly, that's why many people don't see fast results. If you only study passively, it's very slow. But once you start using English actively, speaking, writing, thinking, you improve much faster.
True. And what about reading and writing? Did you include those too?
Yes. In the evenings, I usually read something simple in English, like news articles, short stories, or blogs. After reading, I wrote a short summary in my own words. It could be just a few sentences, but it trained my brain to think and produce English.
That's a really balanced routine. So you had listening in the morning, speaking in the afternoon, and reading and writing in the evening.
Yes. And one more important thing, I tried to connect English with my daily life. For example, when I cooked, I would name the ingredients in English. When I walked outside, I would describe what I saw in English in my mind. This way, English was not just study, it became part of my life.
That's a golden tip, Julia. Listeners, did you hear that? Don't just study English, make it part of your everyday life. That's how you build consistency.
Exactly. And to be honest, Jason, consistency was the biggest secret. Even if I was tired, I told myself, at least do 20 minutes today. That daily habit made the difference.
Wow. So in 5 months, you weren't just studying, you were living English.
Yes, that's the best way to describe it.
All right, that's a great daily plan. But I want to know, what was your secret method? How did you really immerse yourself in English? Okay, Julia, your routine already sounds powerful, but I know you had one special method that made a big difference: immersion. Can you explain how you created an English environment for yourself, even though you weren't living in an English-speaking country?
Of course, immersion simply means surrounding yourself with English as much as possible. For me, I changed almost everything in my daily life into English. For example, I changed my phone and computer language settings to English. So every time I used technology, I was reading English words.
That's smart. It forces you to interact with English even without studying.
Yes. I also watched movies and TV shows only in English, sometimes with English subtitles, sometimes without. In the beginning, I didn't understand everything, but I trained my ears to get used to the sound.
And what about music or podcasts? Did you use those too?
Oh, yes. I listened to English songs, podcasts, and even YouTube videos while I was walking or doing chores. Basically, whenever I had free time, I filled it with English. Even if I didn't understand every word, my brain was hearing the rhythm and pronunciation.
I love that. It sounds like you created a mini English world around yourself.
Exactly. And one more thing, I practice thinking in English. For example, if I was hungry, instead of saying in my language, I want to eat, I would say it in English in my mind. Or when I planned my day, I would try to think in English. This habit really helped me start speaking more naturally.
That's a powerful exercise. Listeners, you don't need a native speaker around you all the time. Just try to think in English as much as possible, and you'll see a big difference.
Yes, immersion is about creating an English atmosphere wherever you are. You don't need to live in the US or UK. You can create that environment right at home.
Fantastic. So now we know how you surrounded yourself with English. But I imagine it wasn't always easy. What were the biggest challenges you faced on this journey? All right, Julia. Everything you've shared so far sounds amazing. But let's be real. I'm sure it wasn't always easy. What were the biggest challenges you faced while learning English in 5 months?
You're right, Jason. It definitely wasn't easy. I think my first big challenge was confidence. In the beginning, I was so afraid of making mistakes. Every time I tried to speak, I worried, what if I say something wrong? That fear made me very quiet.
Yes, I think that's the #1 problem for many learners. We're so focused on being perfect that we stop ourselves from practicing.
Exactly, but then I realized mistakes are not the enemy. They're actually teachers. Every time I made a mistake, I learned something new. Once I accepted that, my confidence grew.
That's a great mindset shift. What other challenges did you face?
Another challenge was vocabulary. At first, I didn't know enough words to express myself. Sometimes I wanted to explain something but didn't have the right word, and I felt stuck.
So how did you deal with that?
I learned to use simple words. For example, if I didn't know the word frustrated, I would just say, I feel not happy and a little angry. It wasn't perfect, but people understood me. Over time, I learned more vocabulary naturally.
That's a very useful tip. Don't wait until you know perfect words. Use the words you do know and expand little by little.
Yes. And the third challenge was staying consistent. Some days I felt tired or lazy, but I reminded myself of my why, my job goal. That motivation kept me going, even on difficult days.
So to summarize, you faced fear of mistakes, lack of vocabulary, and difficulty staying consistent. But you overcame them with mindset, creativity, and strong motivation.
Exactly. And I think every learner will face challenges, but what matters is finding a way to push through them.
Well said, Julia. Now, I'm curious. How did you stay motivated through all of this? Let's talk about your mindset. So, Julia, you mentioned that motivation played a big role in your journey. How did you keep your mindset strong, especially on those days when you felt tired or discouraged?
Great question, Jason. For me, the key was focusing on progress, not perfection. I didn't try to be a native speaker in 5 months. I just tried to be better than I was yesterday. Even if I learned only one new word or practiced for 20 minutes, I told myself, that's still progress.
I like that. Small steps add up to big results over time.
Exactly. Another thing I did was celebrate small wins. For example, the first time I watched a movie and understood a whole scene without subtitles, I felt so proud. That little success gave me energy to keep going.
That's such a good tip for learners. Don't wait until you're fluent to celebrate. Enjoy every small victory along the way.
Yes, and one more thing. I stayed positive by reminding myself of my why. Whenever I felt lazy, I imagined myself at the job interview speaking confidently in English. That picture in my mind pushed me to practice even when it was hard.
That's powerful. So for our listeners, focus on progress, celebrate small wins, and always remember why you're learning English. That's how you keep your motivation alive.
Exactly. With the right mindset, learning feels less like a struggle and more like an exciting journey.
Beautifully said. Julia. Now, let's talk about something practical. What resources and tools actually helped you during those 5 months? So, Julia, let's get practical now. What resources or tools did you find most helpful during your 5-month journey?
Well, Jason, I kept it simple. For listening, I used English podcasts and YouTube channels. I liked short, clear videos made for English learners because they were easier to understand and motivating.
That's a great idea. Podcasts are powerful because you can listen while doing other things, right?
Exactly. For speaking, I used language exchange apps to connect with partners. Even short conversations helped me build confidence, and sometimes I just recorded myself speaking on my phone. That way, I could listen and improve my pronunciation.
Very smart. What about reading and vocabulary?
For reading, I used news websites and simple books. And for vocabulary, I made flashcards with apps like Anki. But the key was not just memorizing words, it was actually using them in sentences.
That's golden advice. Many learners collect words but never use them.
Yes, exactly. My rule was, if I learn a new word today, I must use it in speaking or writing the same day. That way, the word becomes part of my active vocabulary.
Brilliant. So listeners, remember, choose resources you enjoy and focus on using what you learn, not just collecting information.
Yes, that's the secret. Simple resources, but used consistently.
I like that. Now, let's move to the exciting part. What happened after those 5 months? What changes did you notice? So, Julia, after all that hard work, 5 months of daily practice, immersion, and pushing through challenges, what changed? What was different about your English at the end of those 5 months?
Honestly, Jason, the difference was huge. Before, I could barely hold a conversation. But after 5 months, I could actually talk with people for 20 or 30 minutes without feeling nervous. My sentences weren't perfect, but I was able to express myself clearly and confidently.
That's a big achievement in such a short time. How about your listening skills?
Oh, yes, listening improved a lot. At first, I only understood maybe 30 to 40% of movies or podcasts, but after 5 months, I could catch the main ideas and sometimes even small details. That made conversations much easier.
That must have felt amazing to see real progress in such a short time.
Yes, it gave me so much confidence. The best part was when I went to the job interview. I was able to speak in English without freezing. I didn't need to translate in my head anymore. I just spoke.
Wow, that's inspiring. So in 5 months, you went from struggling with basics to being able to think and communicate in English.
Exactly. And it showed me that with the right habits, big progress is possible in a short time.
That's fantastic. Now, let's turn to our listeners. What advice would you give them if they also want to make fast progress in English? Julia, now that you've shared your journey, what advice would you give to our listeners who want to improve their English quickly?
My first piece of advice is set a clear goal. Know exactly why you're learning English and what you want to achieve. A clear goal will keep you motivated, especially when things get tough.
Makes sense. What's next?
Second, practice every day. Even 20 to 30 minutes daily is better than studying for hours once a week. Consistency is what creates real progress.
Absolutely. And what about speaking?
Speak as much as you can, even if it's just to yourself. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Every mistake is a lesson, and using English actively will boost your confidence much faster than only studying grammar.
Great tips. Anything else?
Yes, immerse yourself in English. Watch videos, listen to podcasts, read articles, think in English. Make it part of your daily life. And finally, celebrate small wins. Every time you understand a movie scene, use a new word correctly or have a short conversation. Feel proud. These small wins keep you going.
Fantastic advice, Julia. Listeners, follow these steps, and you'll see real progress just like Julia did. Wow, Julia, what an inspiring journey. Let's quickly recap the key takeaways for our listeners.
Sure, Jason. First, know your why. Have a clear reason for learning English. Second, practice every day. Even small steps matter. Third, immerse yourself in English by listening, speaking, reading, and thinking in the language.
And don't forget, don't fear mistakes. Use every opportunity to speak. Celebrate your small wins and keep a positive mindset. Progress comes with consistency and dedication.
Exactly. Learning English in 5 months is challenging, but if you follow these steps, stay motivated, and keep practicing, it's absolutely possible.
That's right. Listeners, take inspiration from Julia's journey and start applying these tips today. Your English can improve faster than you think. All right, everyone. That's it for today's episode of the English Learning Podcast. A huge thanks to Julia for sharing her amazing journey of learning English in just 5 months.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. Remember, your English journey is possible with dedication, practice, and the right mindset.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, give us a like, and share it with your friends who are learning English.
Yes, and leave a comment below telling us your English goals. We'd love to hear your story and cheer you on.
Until next time, keep practicing, stay motivated, and remember, every small step takes you closer to fluency.
Goodbye, everyone. Keep learning and see you in the next episode.